is filthy. No point in washing it now, it's supposed to rain Monday through Thursday. But at the moment, it feels like it's 80 outside. I don't know, we'll see right now. What's going on, YouTube? So, this is probably one question I get asked the most frequent, maybe, but it is WRX versus STI, why I went with the WRX over the STI. So I hope I could briefly touch up on this, cover a bit of it, and we'll do kind of like a driving vlog style. As you can see right there, the camera's hanging off the window. Get the mic ready and just go for a drive, run a couple errands, yeah, so let's go. Alright guys, so let's begin with this. I got some notes in front of me. So the first thing I want to address is, why did I go with the WRX over any other car, not just specifically the STI? And truth be told, since I came from a GTI, I was kind of deeply in the involved in the Volkswagen community. So my first instinct was, after limiting the GTI, which by the way, if you guys want to hear the story on how that happened, I limited my GTI and it had about 53,000 miles at the time when I lemoned it. So I lemoned the GTI, and my first instinct was go find a Golf R, because I love those. It just made sense, stay in the VW family. Problem with that was, this was about the 2016 model year was just about to come out, so 2015 had just been out for a whole year almost. So no matter which dealership I went to, there was about a markup of minimum $5,000. There were some dealerships that had a $10,000 markup, and the problem with that is a lot of people are paying that price, which is the issue. And to me, it's ridiculous, because even if someone could afford that, it's kind of like you have no room for negotiation, obviously, at that point. And what you're doing is you're technically just tipping the dealership for screwing you over. It's just two negatives. It makes no sense, no matter how amazing the car is. So that was the reason. So the other thing was, I didn't want another front wheel drive car. I wanted something different. Rear wheel drive is great, but for whatever reason, I have this fascination with all wheel drive. And even though I live in California, where it's pretty much pointless, it's just, I don't know what it is about all wheel drive. I was drawn to it initially. So I made like a little checklist where the only car that really checked off every box I wanted was the WRX and my price point. So naturally, that's where I went first. I actually didn't even test drive a manual, because at the time I didn't know how to drive a manual, and I just test drove a CVT once. Pretty much placed the order for the car. I used TrueCar. Got into contact with Long Beach, Subaru, and VW. And they said, well, there's a car specifically exactly how you want it spec'd out, with the exact color and everything, but it's about 2 weeks out. It's about to be shipped out. It's already built, so we could place that one for you. I put a deposit down for that car, and that's how it went down. So I didn't even test drive the manual. We went and picked it up. My dad drove it home. Thankfully, he knows how to drive stick. So another reason was, besides VW, the only other brand I see that has the same community following, where odds are, if you've seen another Subaru or VW on the road, if you give a thumbs up or something, you're gonna get one back, and they're also an enthusiast, be it like a GTI or WRX, STI type of thing. So the next reason why I went with the WRX was because of the aftermarket support there is. Just like the VW, there's a lot of aftermarket companies for this car to do a lot of research, and your options are endless. A lot of the cars where you're kind of left with not much to work with, where you have to get a lot of custom work done. I didn't want to deal with that. I didn't have the money or the resources for that. So that's why I went with this. That's another reason. So let's get into the main reason of the video and why I went with the WRX over the STI. First up is the price point. Saved about a few grand at least. Instead, I used those to go with options like a premium package with the Harman Kardon speaker system, because those were something that I wanted. I always wanted. Every other car I've always had was always a base car. For once, I wanted some of the little amenities and the accessories you get in a car, like the sunroof. It's open right now, actually. So price point, major difference right there. This car was about $5,000 less out the door than the base STI, which so it made sense to me. Next thing is the location. I don't necessarily need the DCCD system, the all-wheel drive system and transmission out of the STI, just because I'm in California. There's no snow here. The only way I get any snow is if I actually drive out looking for it in the mountains, which is probably like a couple-hour drive. And still, it's not a big deal for me here. I don't need locking diffs and all that stuff. I'm not professionally racing either to have all that. The other thing is the bigger brakes. Although they're amazing, and I probably will end up doing them anyway, at the time I felt like I didn't need them. Because for daily driving, the WRX brakes are really well. They do really well. There's no issues at all. And if you know you did the occasional autocross or whatever it may be, just doing some pads, brake fluid, and stainless steel lines, you're pretty much golden. Unless you're going on a road course or something like that, then sure, you could get like a big brake kit or something to help out with that. The other thing is the stiffer chassis on the STI, which I don't think is actually the stiffer chassis. The WRX and STI both have the same chassis, I believe. It's the suspension that's stiffer. It has stiffer struts, stiffer dampening, more aggressive. But I didn't need that because I knew I was going to do aftermarket suspension work anyway, so why did I want to pay extra for that? So that's a simple one right there. WRX is already pretty darn stiff, and you can get it really capable around the track with just a few suspension modifications. And you guys can see what I've done to my car in my other previous videos outlining my modifications. Next up is the engine. This is the elephant in the room. I feel like this is the one thing that the main discussion, the EJ versus the FA20. EJ guys will say there's this proven engine, you know, the FA20, there's no real longevity, proof for longevity in the engine. But I'm probably gonna get a lot of hate from the EJ guys here because they're pretty crazy about their engines. I don't know. It's like a cult almost. But yeah, so EJ motor. The other thing was the mileage. I haven't had personal experience with this, but all you hear is how bad the mileage is on the EJs. It's about like, you get like 17, 18 combined mileage, which is pretty bad for daily driving. I mean, there's an acceptable level for me where performance cars, you don't really care, but 17, 18 combined mileage is a little too much for me, or too little for that matter. So the other thing is, and you're gonna hear this one a lot, is that ringland failure. Although it's a very small amount of engines, the problem is it's got such a bad stigma to it that for me, if I had an STI with the EJ motor, I probably would be very discouraged to modify it. It wouldn't stop me from buying the car, but don't get me wrong, but I would probably just keep it completely stock for at least the time of the warranty, and just do like an axle back or something. It would just keep me from modifying the car. I'd probably just do like a few suspension mods and that's it. Even though it's not a big deal and it's probably like 5% of all owners for STI owners, it's still always gonna be in the back of your mind. And since it's your daily driver, you don't want, I mean, I wouldn't want that risk, but then again, that's food for thought right there. No hate to the STI guys, but I know you guys hate hearing that argument. But it is what it is. And it's the reality of it. So just for the sake of argument, I'm going to throw a few reasons why I would get the STI over the WRX anyway, and that would be the transmission. The linkage style over the cable shifter in the WRX is far more superior. It just feels so much better. It's a lot more mechanical and satisfying to shift over the cable shifter on these, which I guess a lot of companies are now moving the cable shifters for 6-speed manuals or 5-speed manuals. For whatever reason, everything's going cable, electronic, or whatever it is. I wouldn't be surprised one day that even a 6-speed manual is electronic, where there's no actual connection between the gears. Imagine that. It'd be terrible. The classical Subaru rumble, you lose that with the FA20, which I wish it had. I love it. I wouldn't mind giving up like a few horsepower just for that Subaru rumble. But it is what it is. So the only other reason why I'd get one is if you hit the track a lot. So if you hit the track like once a month, I mean, so in that case, it's pretty good to invest in the STI, get the bigger brakes and all that stuff while you're ahead. I mean, STI is a really good track car right out of the box. It's ready to go. Just break it in, take it to the track. You're going to be really happy with the suspension, everything straight. If you don't want to do all the work yourself and modify it and have to play with the suspension and adjust it and all that stuff, it could get a bit tedious. So there's that. So that's my short brief video on this subject. I know it's asked very, very frequently, and I hope it helps some people make a decision on which car they want to go with. Otherwise, I'm going to go run some errands right now, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.